I still remember the day they voted me out like it was yesterday. The sun slanted across the mahogany conference table, glinting off my father's gold tie, bare as he tapped his pen against the edge like a gavel. My sister Miranda, freshly promoted to COO, sat to his right, my cousin Robert, the new CFO, to his left. They'd always framed themselves as the grown-ups of Harper and Sons Manufacturing. I was, what? The black sheep? The baby brother with too much education and too many opinions? Arthur, my father said, looking up from the spreadsheet projected behind me. We appreciate everything you've done, but effective immediately, we're moving in a new direction. He slid a resignation letter across the table. Sign here. My stomach dropped. I pushed the letter back. You can't be serious. I'm VP of Operations. I turned this plant around last quarter, inventory down 22%, on-time deliveries up 17. What direction? He sighed, eyes flicking to Miranda. We need someone who can focus on core competencies. Your specialization in digital procurement is great, but the board wants wholesale restructuring. We think you should pursue other interests. Miranda cleared her throat. It's best for everyone. Best for everyone except me. I sat there, hand on the scan pad, feeling like I'd been cut out of the family portrait. A week later, I found myself packing up my office, family photos, awards, whiteboard scribbles of Six Sigma belt training. The receptionist eyed me pityingly. My father never gave me the speech about finding my true path, nor did he invite me to his study for another glass of whiskey. I got the card from HR, severance package, non-disclosure, goodwill, we'll miss you. A courtesy ride to the lift stand. No hugs. I walked to my car numbly, the engines purr a lonely companion. I drove home in the early spring drizzle, radio muted. The bubbling of disappointment echoed in my head. How could they saddle the business with new blood, then expect profits to soar? But of course they didn't actually need to believe in themselves. They had me to lean on. I poured myself a bourbon on the rocks, stared at the ice melting in my favorite crystal glass, and realized the one thing they'd overlooked: I still controlled their contracts. When I joined Harper & Sons 7 years earlier, Dad gave me a single assignment: build the digital procurement system. The business ran on paper purchase orders, faxes, phone calls. I architected a cloud-based vendor portal, negotiated framework agreements, and automated renewals with electronic signatures. By year 2, we'd slashed supplier lead times by 40% and early payment discounts by 2%, net savings in the high six figures. Then I layered in a contract management suite, repository version control, 2-factor approval flows. And I quietly set most of our major vendor contracts, raw steel, injection molds, logistics partners, not to expire but to auto-renew unless actively canceled in the portal by a user with CFO-level credentials. The system was built with 3 backup admin credentials, mine, Dad's, and the head of legals. When Dad gave me the keys, I asked if I should add Miranda. He said, "No, leave it simple." I left it simple. So when the board forced me out, they assumed I lost my admin access. But I hadn't transferred my credentials. They'd never thought to ask. Unlike my corner office, my digital keys fit in my pocket. That night, as I sat in my den, I fired up my laptop. Through our secure VPN, I logged in as system admin, a placeholder account I'd created when running the pilot. The vendor portal churned to life, dashboards of open orders, contract expirations, price trend alerts. Underneath dozens of framework agreements lay the critical clause: this contract shall renew for successive 1-year terms, unless either party provides written notice of non-renewal not less than 90 days prior to the then current term's expiration. 90 days. Software enforced. No email, no fax, no phone call could override it. I smirked. They forced me to the door. I'd locked the back gate. The next morning, I grabbed coffee at my favorite cafe, the one Miranda and I used to fight over, our Grand's porridge recipe stitched on its menu. I checked my phone. The Het's calls hadn't been acknowledged. Dad and Miranda would be in the plant by 8 a.m., fumbling through what have we lost meetings. By 9 a.m., I'd placed a single click in the portal's Manage Contracts tab. Harper's Logistics _contract, set to cancel renewal. A confirmation dialog popped up. Please authenticate. You are about to cancel the upcoming auto-renewal of the Harper & Sons Logistics Agreement, valued at $1.2 million per annum. Cancel? Yes, no. I clicked yes, then another. MFA code from my YubiKey. Then confirm. Then I logged off. At 9:02, I whistled as I walked to my car. The first bullet had been discharged. The plant would soon discover their transportation contract canceled, triggering emergency spot quotes at premium rates. I spent the next 2 days quietly executing surgical strikes. I rescinded the annual steel supply framework renewal, the East Coast mold maintenance SLA, and the credit line extension with our primary raw materials vendor. Each had an auto-renew window of mere hours or days. And now that I'd canceled them, the portal fired off system emails, not to me, but to the admins on file. Miranda as COO, Robert as CFO, and legal. The emails weren't marked urgent, just routine contract expiration notification. By the time they realized, their leverage would have evaporated. Spot bargainers would smell blood in the water. Meanwhile, I stormed the LinkedIn group for manufacturing execs and posted a short note. Available 10+ years in procurement optimization. Specialties, vendor portals, CLM, early payment financing. Let's connect. Within hours, I had 10 recruiters calling, 2 headhunters emailing, 1 private equity lead intrigued. When Miranda realized the first renewal failed, the plant manager's face, as the inbound truck belonging to Harper Logistics, was turned away for expired credentials. She called Dad. Dad called the board. They plunged the plant into chaos. Furious calls flew through the corridors. Suit-and-tie middle managers sprinted between offices. They cobbled together emergency agreements at toxic rates and promised air freight surcharges. By day 3, the plant's margins were in free fall. They thought it was incompetence or treachery by a rogue employee. They never suspected me. That evening, as I sat with a cigar on my back deck, the phone rang. It was Robert. "Arthur wants to talk," he said urgently. "Can you come by tomorrow?" He's in trouble. I stroked my beard. "What's up, Bob?" He cleared his throat. "They lost our primary steel supplier and logistics partner. The plant is operating at half cost. The board is panicking. He's going to rue the day he fired you." I let out a chuckle. "I'll be there, Bob. Tell Arthur I'll drop by at 10. He exhaled. "Thank you." Then he hung up, the line clicking dead. I sat back, took a puff of smoke. The amber ember glowed bright. They'd thought they could get rid of me, cut me out of board meetings, sidelines, family dinners, but they forgot the contracts. I'd sit across from Dad and Miranda, watch their faces as the realization dawned. I'd let them sweat through the weekend. And then, in my own time, I'd tell them the truth, that I'd never left the family business. Not if I held the pen that signed their lifeline. But for now, I'd let the embers die down. Come tomorrow, I'd walk back into that boardroom, not as a guest, but as a gladiator who'd mastered the arena. Because this was my family business. And I, Arthur Harper's son, still controlled the contracts. I arrived at Harper & Sons exactly at 10 a.m., the winter dawn still pale over the factory smokestacks. My boots crunched on frost-hardened gravel as I approached the main entrance, doors emblazoned with the family crest, now echoing my own footsteps, lonely and measured. I paused a moment, smoothing my overcoat, and slipped inside. The boardroom's long mahogany table gleamed under fluorescent lights. At its head sat my father, shoulders hunched, tie askew. On one side, Miranda and Robert exchanged grim looks. On the other, a half-dozen board members huddled over laptops, faces tight with tension. I closed the door with purpose.
"Steve,"
Dad said, voice hollow. "You came." I inclined my head. "You asked." Miranda stood abruptly. "What did you do?" Her tone was accusatory, but her eyes betrayed fear. I walked to the projection screen behind her. "I canceled your renewals." I clicked the remote. On screen appeared the vendor portal's dashboard, red expired, flags beside logistics partner, steel supplier and mold maintenance. All set to non-renew. Supply chain in chaos. I turned, meeting each of their eyes. "You lost $2.4 million in premiums this week alone." A board member gasped. Robert's face drained of color. Dad exhaled, head in hands. The silence cut deeper than any words. Finally, Miranda whispered, "Why?" I folded my arms. "Because you shut me out, broke my trust, and gambled the company on family politics. You wanted a new direction. I gave you one." The CFO, clutching a tablet, stammered, "We thought it was a system glitch. Our IT team couldn't fix it." I smirked. System glitch that required CFO-level approval to override. Convenient. Dad rose, voice cracking. "Please, son. We made a mistake. We need you back." I studied him. The man who taught me to always read the fine print, who handed me the digital keys 7 years ago, now a broken patriarch begging for help. My heart wavered between triumph and something softer, concern. You have two choices, I said evenly. One, you revert all renewals and ratify my admin access, plus sign a new contract making me CIO, with full authority over procurement and contracts. Or two, you admit you don't need my skills, dissolve this division, and let me sell the portal to one of the headhunters calling me non-stop. The table vibrated with murmurs. Miranda's shoulders slumped. Robert's lips trembled. The board chair cleared her throat. Mr. Harper, I think that's a reasonable offer. Dad wiped his eyes. Steve, we agree we'd be lost without you. I nodded, reached into my coat for my cluttered leather wallet, and produced my YubiKey. Let's get started. I tapped it to the reader at the head of the table. A chime rang, and I logged in. Minutes later, the red flags turned green. System logs recorded my reinstatement and a flurry of renew contract commands. The portal hummed to life, purchase orders resumed, deliveries reactivated, penalties reversed wherever possible. Miranda leaned back, relief flooding her face. Thank you, Steve. You'll see, I said, voice softer now. We'll restore margins, rebuild trust, and prove that family can run a business if they respect the rules. Dad stood, walked around to hug me. Welcome home. I felt the mantle slide back onto my shoulders, heavy but familiar. Over the next weeks, I worked alongside them, training new admins, auditing every contract for vulnerability, setting up multi-sig approval workflows so no single person could idle the business. The plant's operations stabilized. At quarter's end, our procurement savings tripled. Margins rebounded, and stock analysts marveled at our turnaround. My name appeared in internal newsletters, not as the exiled VP, but as Chief Integration Officer, a title forged in crisis. One evening, as snowfall drifted against the windows, my father joined me in my restored office. He placed a framed photo on my desk, the 4 Harper siblings, arms around each other at my daughter's birthday. I'm sorry, he said quietly, for doubting you, for underestimating your value. I picked up the frame, studying our smiling faces. Then I nodded. I'm sorry too, for pushing too hard with my blind spots. Families should lift each other up, not tear down. I set the photo beside my monitor. We're stronger together. He patted my shoulder. To new beginnings. Together, I agreed. The following Christmas, the family gathered in the factory's newly built events hall. High ceilings, pine boughs, festive lights. My parents hosted a celebration for employees and families. I watched from the head table as carols echoed off steel beams. Miranda caught my eye, nodded in thanks. Robert raised his glass in silent salute. When the roast dinner was served, I stood to speak. My glass of eggnog trembled in my hand. This past year taught me a lot about family and business. Trust is fragile, but when you honor it, you build something no spreadsheet can show. I'm grateful to be part of this family, this company, tonight. Applause filled the hall, employees cheering, family beaming. And as I sat back, I realized that being banned had been the fire that forged a stronger bond. My family learned that digital keys can hold the real power, and that sometimes being locked out only proves how essential you truly are. Then we ate, laughed, and sang Silent Night together. Sibling voices warm around the table, the portal humming in the background, and the Harper legacy secure in hands that knew its workings best.